Alphonse, who lives off other people's money and love. Alfred slowly opened his eyes, letting the sunlight gently embrace his face. His dark hair, slightly disheveled from sleep, fell over his forehead, giving him a slightly careless but attractive appearance. Thick eyebrows accentuated deep brown eyes that could instantly mesmerize anyone who caught their gaze. High cheekbones and a well-defined chin line made his face masculine and strong-willed, though it retained the softness of youth. He stretching his slender body, clad in a simple white t-shirt that clung tightly to his muscular torso. Despite the fact that he rarely exercised, nature had given him an athletic build that was complemented by long legs and narrow hips. His arms barely showed traces of the tattoos he'd gotten when he was younger, trying to appear brutal and independent. When he turned to the mirror opposite the bed, his reflection showed a confident man with a slight smile on his lips. That smile could be both charming and a bit sly, depending on who he wanted to please. His appearance combined traits that made him attractive to different types of women, youth and energy mixed with experience and confidence. Alfred knew his power and used it to its full potential. He could change facial expressions as easily as he changed shirts. When he needed to appear gentle and caring, his eyes softened and his voice became velvety. When it was necessary to give the impression of a successful and independent man, he straightened his back, held his head high, and looked directly into the eyes of the interlocutor. It was this ability to adapt and manipulate that made him so successful with women. They saw in him what they wanted to see and rarely guessed his true intentions. Alfred was a master of the game, and his appearance played an important part in that game. Alfred always considered himself a man of art, although in fact his talent was more in the ability to charm than in acting. Moving to Los Angeles, he dreamed of becoming a star of the screen, conquer the stage, and receive rave reviews from critics. But the reality was harsh. Roles came rarely, and most often it was minor characters or episodes that brought neither fame nor large fees. However, Alfred did not give up. He found another way to make himself known to the world. He created a blog in which he talked about his life, meetings with famous people, parties and events in the world of show business. The blog became his second self, a place where he could visualize himself as a successful and in-demand actor, even if things were not so smooth in real life. On the blog, Alfred shared his thoughts on the movie industry, gave advice to aspiring actors, and discussed the latest trends in fashion and culture. He knew how to tell stories beautifully, creating the illusion of a turbulent and busy life full of interesting events and acquaintances. Although many of these stories were exaggerated or made up, readers believed every word because Alfred had the gift of persuasion. Thanks to his blog, he was able to make connections in show business circles. He began to be invited to private events, movie premieres, and parties where only a select few had access. Alfred tried to use every opportunity to meet new people, make useful acquaintances, and attract attention to his person. Although his career as an actor didn't take off as he had hoped, the blog gave him a sense of importance and significance. He felt part of the celebrity world, albeit on the periphery. And although that world was illusory, Alfred preferred to live in it, rather than face a reality where his success remained ephemeral. It all began 8 years ago, when Alfred was only 23 years old. He was young, full of ambition and hope when he first stepped onto the streets of Los Angeles. The city beckoned him with its lights, the promise of success, and the glitz of Hollywood. Dreams of the stage, cameras, and applause turned his head. Alfred saw himself on the covers of magazines, heard his name in the credits of famous movies, and imagined his music playing on the radio. But life in the big city turned out to be quite different from what he expected. Instead of movie sets and concert halls, endless auditions, rejections, and disappointments awaited him. Alfred tried to make his way in the world of show business, but the doors in front of him opened very rarely. The roles he was offered were insignificant, and concerts were held in small clubs, where the audience consisted of a few friends and random passers-by. One evening, as Alfred sat in one such club watching a local band perform, he noticed her. Sarah was sitting at a table in the corner of the room, her dark hair glistening in the spotlight, and her eyes watching the stage intently. She was 8 years older than him, but that didn't embarrass Alfred in the least. On the contrary, her maturity and confidence attracted him like a magnet. He approached her, introducing himself confidently and offering to buy her a drink. Sarah smiled, accepting the offer, and a conversation ensued between them. Alfred was struck by her sincerity and warmth. She told him about her journey in the acting profession, the difficulties she had faced, and how important it was to believe in your dreams. Alfred listened to her, but an idea was already brewing in his head. He realized that Sarah was the woman who could help him move up a notch. Her experience, connections, and financial status could be the key to his success. So he began actively courting her, using the full arsenal of his charm. Compliments, flowers, romantic walks. It all worked for him. Sarah was really fascinated by his youth energy and how easily he said the right words. A few months later, they decided to get married. It was a step up for Alfred, an opportunity to access the world he dreamed of. Sarah paid his bills, helped him with his finances, and supported him morally. But the happiness proved to be short-lived. Sarah began to notice that Alfred was spending more and more time away from home. Parties, meetings with friends, nightclubs, all this became an integral part of his life. He spent the money Sarah earned on entertainment and expensive things, without thinking about the future. Gradually, their relationship began to cool down. Sarah stopped trusting him, feeling she was being used. A breakup was inevitable. A year and a half later, they divorced, and Alfred left Sarah's house. But he was not discouraged. A new strategy was already brewing in his head. He knew that this huge city was full of women willing to pay for his attention and care. And he was ready for a fresh start. After his divorce from Sarah, Alfred wasn't going to be alone for long. He knew that Los Angeles is full of successful and rich women who can provide him with a comfortable life. Therefore, he began to actively attend various events, parties, and exhibitions, hoping to meet the one who would become his new patroness. One day at one such party, he saw her. Ellen stood in the center of the hall, surrounded by a crowd of admiring men. She was tall, slender, and elegant, with short-cropped blonde hair and cold blue eyes. She was 27 years older, but her age did not embarrass him. On the contrary, it attracted him. Ellen looked confident and self-assured. Alfred immediately realized that she was the perfect candidate. A wealthy, successful businesswoman with the connections and resources necessary for a comfortable life. He approached her, introduced himself, and suggested that they spend the evening together. Ellen accepted his offer, and they spent the night discussing business, art, and future plans. Helene was impressed by Alfred's youth and energy. He knew how to listen, asked the right questions, and gave compliments that made her feel special. Soon they started dating, and Alfred convinced her that their union was more than just a relationship. He talked about love, support, and understanding, though he was really only thinking about how to use her resources to achieve his goals. A few months later, they were married. Ellen bought them a luxurious villa in a prestigious area of Los Angeles, provided Alfred with all the comforts and gifts he could wish for. For 2 years, he enjoyed the life he had always dreamed of having. Expensive cars, exclusive travel, the best restaurants and clubs. It all seemed to him like a fairy tale come true. But as time went on, Ellen began to show her demanding and overbearing nature. She wanted to control every aspect of Alfred's life, deciding with whom to socialize, what events to attend, even what to wear. Alfred found it increasingly difficult to tolerate her constant intrusion into his personal life. He was tired of being constantly scrutinized and controlled. In addition, Helene often worked late into the night, leaving Alfred alone in their huge villa. He missed the freedom he used to enjoy and began to seek solace in old habits, parties, alcohol, and casual acquaintances. Ellen noticed the changes in his behavior and became even more strict and demanding. Conflict was inevitable. One night, after another scandal, Ellen announced that their marriage was over. She threw Alfred out of the house, leaving him only the things he had brought with him. He found himself back on the streets. But Alfred did not despair. He was sure that this city was full of women willing to give him shelter and financial support. So he started again. Without wasting time, Alfred began to look for a new target. His choice fell on Lisa, a young actress who was only 2 years older than him. Lisa was beautiful, talented, and ambitious. She dreamed of a great career in the movies, and Alfred immediately realized that she was perfect for his plans. Their acquaintance happened at one of the parties organized by Liza's friend's agency. Alfred approached her, introduced himself, and began to talk about his plans for the future, how he dreams of making a career in show business. Lisa was fascinated by his confidence and charisma. She saw him as a partner who could support her in difficult moments and share the joy of success. Soon they began to meet, and Alfred again used all his skills of seduction. He gave her flowers, took her to the best restaurants, helping advice on career. Lisa felt loved and protected next to him. A few months later, they decided to get married. The wedding was modest, but beautiful, and Lisa believed that this was the beginning of their happy life together. For the next 2.5 years, Alfred lived in comfort and coziness. Lisa provided him with everything he needed, paid his bills, bought gifts, and tried to create the most comfortable conditions for their living together. She continued to work on her career, starring in small roles and participating in theater productions. Alfred spent his time doing his own thing, attending parties, socializing with friends, and blogging about his supposedly successful life. But gradually, Lisa began to notice that Alfred was not interested in their life together. He was rarely at home, preferring to spend time outside the walls of their apartment. When she tried to talk to him about it, he answered evasively, referring to work or meetings with friends. Lisa felt that she was being used solely for financial gain. She also noticed that Alfred had stopped supporting her in her career. He used to praise her for her successes, give her advice, and inspire her to do better. Now he simply ignored her achievements, considering them unimportant. It became clear to Lisa that their relationship was based on lies and manipulation. Divorce was inevitable. One morning, after another argument, Lisa packed up Alfred's things and put them out the door. She told him that she no longer wanted to continue the relationship, that he had betrayed her trust and ruined their family. Alfred tried to talk her into staying, but Lisa was adamant. She knew it was better to end this toxic relationship than to continue living a lie. Alfred is on the streets again, but he's not in despair. A plan was already maturing in his mind to find a new victim who would provide him comfort and safety. After Lisa, Alfred met Jennifer at one of the exhibitions. She was the director of a small but promising theater located downtown. Jennifer was young, energetic, and ambitious. She was only 3 years younger, but she had already achieved significant success in her professional field. Jennifer immediately caught Alfred's eye. She was beautiful, intelligent, and confident. He felt she was perfect for his plans. Alfred approached her, introduced himself, and began discussing theater productions, directors, and actors with her. Jennifer was impressed with his knowledge and interest in the arts. Soon they began dating. Alfred continued to play the role of a young man interested and passionate about the arts. He attended performances at Jennifer's theater, gave advice on repertoire, and helped her with organizational matters. Jennifer fell in love with him like a girl. The relationship developed rapidly. A few months later, they began living together. Jennifer provided Alfred with a comfortable place to live, paid his bills, and provided him with everything he needed. She believed that their relationship was based on mutual love and respect. But as time went on, Jennifer began to notice that Alfred was not as interested in their life together as he seemed. He was rarely at home, preferring to spend time outside their apartment. When she tried to talk to him about it, he was evasive, referring to work or meetings with friends. Jennifer felt she was being used solely for financial gain and status. It became clear to her that their relationship was based on lies and manipulation. Returning home one evening, after an argument, Jennifer asked Alfred to leave. She told him that she could no longer continue the relationship. Alfred tried to justify his actions, but Jennifer remained adamant. She realized that it was better to end this toxic relationship than to continue to put up with the lies. Alfred left and began looking for a new victim. Finally, Alfred met Margaret. She was a foreigner, a successful businesswoman who was older than him by a full 29 years. Margaret was a refined, sophisticated woman with impeccable manners and a deep knowledge of business. She owned several companies and had properties all over the world. Alfred immediately realized that Margaret was the right person to give him the chance to fulfill all his desires that he longed for. Margaret was fascinated by Alfred. He caught her attention. She saw potential in him and decided to help him get back on his feet. One night, sitting in a restaurant overlooking downtown, Margaret offered Alfred a deal. She would give him an apartment in downtown Los Angeles if he would stay with her. For Alfred, it was the perfect offer. The apartment was exactly what he needed, the symbol of success and stability he'd been looking for so long. And then he could have the rest, since she possessed a substantial fortune. Alfred agreed. He moved in with Margaret, and their life began to resemble an idyll. They traveled, visited the best restaurants and clubs, lived in luxury and comfort. Alfred felt happy and secure. He knew that now he had a roof over his head and a stable future. But fate decreed otherwise. 6 months later, Margaret died suddenly of a heart attack. This blow was unexpected and cruel. Alfred was shocked and confused. He didn't know what to do or how to move on. All of Margaret's property, including the apartment he had been promised, went to her relatives. Alfred was left with nothing. Now Alfred sat in his small apartment wondering what to do next. He had no job, no money, and he was at zero again. But he was not discouraged. After all, he knew that somewhere out there, among the many women, there was one who would be willing to pay for his attention and care. He got up, got dressed, and went outside, ready to begin a new search. Such was the life of Alfred, the eternal Alfonso who lived off other people's money and love. He knew that sooner or later, he would find a new victim. Everything would start all over again.